meeting of the 20th of March 2023. Just a few housekeeping rules. If well, so far we've only got one resident in attendance, but we're hoping some other residents will join us later. Normally residents are used to having these meetings at 6 p.m, but we've decided to try meetings at different times of the day and different formats so we can accommodate more of our residents. Obviously this 4:30 meeting isn't a very popular time for people. Right, so my name's Councillor Diane Donaldson and I'll be chairing the meeting. With me I have Councillor Majid Mahmood, and we've got as a guest this evening we have Sergeant Alan Keynes from the local policing team. Beverly Edmead from City Council officer will be recording the meeting and will be facilitating chat when I can't. If anyone types in the chat and I'm not able to see it, she will alert me. Right, I just need to advise everyone that this meeting is being live streamed for subsequent viewing on the council's website. If anybody does wish to answer a question as we go along, you can either type in the chat, just type speak in the chat, or raise your hand, and that's one of the icons at the top of the toolbar. I think it's third on the left. Just click on that and raise a hand, and then I'll come to you. Right, well, without further ado, we'll move on, and this meeting this evening will be around local police issues. So we've had several issues on Bromford. I've got a list of issues. So I think I've got them in order, but I was expecting some of the Bromford Lane residents to attend, so they may attend later, so I'll leave that till later. But we'll kick off with the issues in Bromford. So we have issues at Bridge Meadow House with youths who are believed to be drug dealing or smoking cannabis, etc., in the doorwells, and they're constantly breaking the door entry systems, which is a great expense to the council. Sergeant Keynes, do you have any updates on that and what actions are being taken, please?
Right, in reference to that, we haven't had no calls to service regarding that. And like I said, we're normally down there, I said, when we're on late on and earlies. The door was damaged yesterday, which we have reported. We did constant walk through because there's 12 floors on there. Now, the smell of cannabis apparently is supposed to be coming only from a particular floor. Right, so I think they had one incident where there were some lads down there. When we went up to them, they actually lived in the block and moved up because it's quite an isolated block. You've got to come off the beaten track to actually go up there. So unless you got in the business to go up there, you've got no real reason to go up there. So, but we've gone there and we update this on our chart that we send to our gaffers, what we've done each day. We're not really getting any calls of service down there. That's one area that we tend to police because we get like cars parked down there, reference ASB, and it's probably normal people that have no insurance and so on and so forth. But the actual interaction with lads down there, we're not having no real issues. It's just been identified at a particular number block within the building.
Yeah, what our residents are reporting to me says the lads are associated with a particular individual in the block. I don't know if that's the case, but what's happening once they get in, they damage the door entry system, so they can their associates can come and go as they please. Right. So it's an ongoing issue, and residents are really concerned. They're calling for CCTV, concierge, and all sorts of things because it just happens on a daily basis now. So residents are getting really frustrated about it.
Yeah, in response to that, like I said, we've gone down there. We've only encountered 3 lads that actually live in there. We was down there yesterday, reference to smell of cannabis because we had another call for service and sat there as well. Even though it's only the one piece, so we have gone down and massed them, done the whole block. I personally done it myself as well last week. Regarding the block of flats, have they actually got CCTV inside the flat or in the lift? And they haven't, because I was.
They haven't, but there's some residents who've got Ring doorbell cameras, and they picked them up on the Ring doorbell cameras. It's the same use, but they are associated with a youth that lives in the block with his mother.
Right. Well, I've spoken to Jane Brennan regarding that individual, and we are looking to actually speak to that person.
Okay.
Because there was information saying there was a party there a week ago.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually get no information regarding that. We were just told it was a party, went there, spoke to people and said it was just a strong smell of herbal cannabis coming through the block of flats. But we've got to speak. I spoke to Jean, and we're also going to speak to the antisocial area officer. What's her name?
Frida, is it?
Yeah, Frida Eunice.
Yeah,
and there's a meeting arranged for us to conduct a visit next week.
Okay, brilliant. I'll pass that on to the residents. They are having a meeting with some of the housing staff, I believe, at some point time this week.
We've actually spoke to the individual as well, regarding who's raising these concerns, and said that we will be moving forward to get this resolved.
Okay. Because there were several one cart that were damaged, quite badly damaged in the car park. But I'm not sure who it belonged to, but
that's being recovered, and that's subject of what's been going on. But it wasn't a particular residence; it was in relation to what was going on at the block of flats. So that's already been covered. The person involved, that person's been informed, and we're moving on from there.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So, any questions around that, or anything anyone would like to add to that? Councillor Mahmood. Thank you.
Yeah, hi Dan, hi everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just Bridgemeadow, it's an over 55 sheltered accommodation scheme, and the feedback we're getting is that there's youths living in that scheme. Is that not something that we can take up with the housing department?
I think it's because the actual youth that lives in there, his mother is legitimately in the scheme, so that he's living with her. Who may be a carer, I don't know. It's something that can be investigated.
It does need to be looked into, because most of the complaints are centered around this particular individual.
Yeah,
and
it is this particular individual whose complaints are being relayed to. But I think Frida, they're making headway. I don't know the actual ins and outs of the case, but there is a lot going on at the moment. So hopefully this will be addressed. And the residents can. The thing is that the worry is the CCTV. Residents would like to see CCTV installed, but that's something that's been taken out, and since they've lost it, they do feel very vulnerable.
Is there any reason why it was taken out?
It was a citywide decision. It was something about people felt it was breaching their human rights, being spied on, as they.
Yeah, but if it's not directly spying
anybody, under surveillance.
Yeah, but it's not directly spying on anyone. It's your security.
No, but I think the majority of the residents would feel. Sorry, I'm losing you, Alan. You.
No, I'm still here. No.
You've got poor network quality. I don't know if it's my sound or your sound. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm struggling to hear you.
No, you're loud and clear. I can hear you.
You're still here. Sorry, I didn't get any of what you said. I didn't get any of what you said previously.
Can you hear me now?
That's it. I can hear you now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I get their concerns, but as long as it isn't directly pointing to their home address, I always thought it was part of the conditions of living in their flats.
Well, I've questions about this, and it said it's because they're communal areas. I think I suppose is this the difference between flats and houses? If it's a house, it's pointing into your front garden, but the way the front doors are configured, you're pointing at somebody else's front door, which I'm sure 99.9% of the residents in the block wouldn't mind, but you're just going to get the odd person that feels it's breaching their privacy.
Oh, no worries.
Okay, but I'll look into that. Can be looked into further. So we'll take that up with housing. Good evening, Ash. Welcome. Ash, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to the meeting. I'll just introduce you to, we've got Sergeant Alan Keynes from the local police team, and we've got Councillor Majid Mahmood here. So I know you're here for a specific reason, that's why I've pushed it down the agenda, but we'll move on now. You've got issues on Bromford Lane, I believe. Ash, you can always type in the chat if you're struggling, because we're not picking you up at the moment. I think there's several issues on Bromford Lane that have been raised by several residents on Bromford Lane, and there's several accidents that have occurred. There've been several burglaries in the vicinity, and also there's quite a few residents that are parking on the grass version selling cars, which is not only damaging the grass verges, they shouldn't be using it as a car dealership. Alan, is there anything that we can do around these particular issues?
Right. Reference to burglaries, they're all shed breaks.
Yeah.
Burglaries per se, but because the burglary mantra now comes on the shed breaks, it's just people breaking into the backyards and jumping fences. We've put out tweets to get people to make sure the property is secure. We know we're past 11 o'clock now. If need be, if there's a burglary problem, she'll have 2 or 3 or 4 bobbies on patrol doing the Bromford estate to try and reassure people. And anybody we see or believe we've got grounds to interact with because they might be involved in no good, we will chat and potentially take the appropriate action. The speeding we're going to struggle with. We've got a enforcement gun, but we haven't actually got a speed gun. We run traffic ops every 3 or 4 months, but again, we are strapped with just getting staff to assist us, as in traffic.
I'm surprised that we don't have a speed gun.
Yeah, and actually to actually do it, we've got nobody trained at the moment. That's a training issue which we need to deal with. But we normally run like traffic operations on Tesco's car park, but to get a full unit over there, it's a big ask from the force itself, because everybody's got the same sort of issues regarding speeding. I'd say potentially put a speed camera up. That's one way of dealing with it. But I don't know how we stand with actually funding it, because I do remember the last cameras we did have, they got pushed back.
Yeah, highways wouldn't accept that because there hasn't been the required number of
fatalities,
unfortunately. Well, fortunately, but that's a requirement to get a speed camera. How is it allocated? How is the allocations decided? What is the criteria for allocating speed guns and the traffic ops across Birmingham?
To get traffic ops, we have to put like a business planning, because like I said, everybody's asking for them. They are a unique service to themselves, and we'll put an order in. we'll wait for it. And the next one we're potentially going to have is June. That's the earliest I can actually get them down there.
Right, so that's.
But at the same time, I will say we will try and do the operations ourselves. Yeah, because we have to do an order and so on and so forth. But again, I'm limited with what resources I've got and experience. And 9 times out of 10, it's me and probably 2 other officers. We've got no capacity to chase anybody. You know, but if we do,
We'd like to get involved if there's any speed watch activities.
Right.
We'd like to get involved and sort of make it a high visibility activity.
Yeah.
It's a very extremely busy road.
I know, yeah. I think it's because it's a bit of a cut through at the moment, and it's outside Hodge Common School. We struggle just to get people to walk to school there.
It's Bromford Lane where the
accident.
Yeah, Bromford Lane where the accidents occurred. That's
the main drag.
The main drag, the A4040, yeah.
Yeah, I got that one because we also have it up by Hodge Common. Again, it is just a fast road. There is a camera on there. I'm not sure if it's still working. Just past St Margaret's Road, there used to be a camera there.
I don't think it's working. That's what I'm informed. But be wrong. Yeah, it needs to be working. So is that something that highways would?
Yeah, highways would pick that up because that's individual from the police.
Okay, I'll pick that up with them. Councillor Mahmood, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, hi, Chair. Yeah, that camera I think is working, but it's on the opposite side of the road. Where we get the complaints is speeding coming from the city centre towards Stetchford on Bromford Lane, and there's been at least 2 road traffic accidents in the last few months, and we've had to present a petition to full council calling for some installations of like pedestrian handrails and or bollards to prevent any future accidents. We're quite lucky. The last accident, the cars just missed the houses. They got into the front drives of 2 of the properties. So imagine if the cars actually got into the property, then there could have been a serious injury or even worse taking place. There is a camera there. I don't see why it can't just be switched on. That would minimize the speeding that's taking place. At this moment in time, everyone knows that camera doesn't work. It's not switched on. So I know there was a funding issue many years ago, but surely we're in a better position now to switch it on. So if you can look into that, that would be brilliant. In terms of Bromford Lane, on the top side, we did have a resident that's come into the meeting, but I think he's finding difficulties with the connection. The issue there is with car traders parking all across the grass verges towards the top end between Old Bromford Lane and Brockers Road. The entire green verges patch there. I've had like literally 5, 6, 7 households now complaining about the illegal parking that's been taking place on the grass verges. And it's not just like, they're not your normal grass verges. Alan, these are like your larger grass verges where you can effectively park 3, 4 cars on there. And it's happening all the way up from the section from Old Bromford Lane to Brockers Road. And I think we should have a ticketing exercise take place. And a lot of the cars also, I've been told, don't have a road tax or even MOT on them because they're there by car traders and they're using that. And also on the, just near the Tesco entrance, the vehicle entrance on Brockers Road, there's always 1 or 2 cars parked there as well, which we parked there for 3, 4 days. And when I've checked, they've got no road tax. But it's such a long-winded process to get the DVLA to lift the cars if there's no road tax, because I think they work on if it's less than 3 months of not having road tax, they won't pick it up. But if there's no MOT, I mean, who does that responsibility lie with? Is that the police or is that the DVLA as well? They should be picked up straight away. But that's the main issue that comes from there. And having so many cars parked in the grass verges, it can also cause a difficulty when people are driving. They're always looking to the left, why there's so many cars, etc. But I do think, if possible, that there is an exercise taking place and a regular exercise, and people would then stop parking. And if we could just penalise them for obstructing the highway as well by having the cars parked on those grass verges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Maggie. Also, Orkney Avenue, that's another location where there's always cars that are untaxed and they're believed to be car dealers who are selling cars, but they're not advertising them in the windows. They advertise them online somehow, and then they just rock up there when they've got a buyer, and so because see people come and go. Or
what road's that one? Sorry.
Orkney Avenue. I have reported it before, and then the other one, Bromford Lane.
The old Bromford Lane. We went down there a couple of weeks there because it's quite a narrow road, isn't it? Old Bromford Lane, and if you park, the problem with Bromford Lane, it's that narrow. The residents would argue that if we park in the road, you're not going to get past, because that's the one by the fields, isn't it? Old Bromford Lane, opposite. Just
the one end is very narrow.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So when we went down there, we give out some tickets, don't park or block, and we've done every single car, and we said, look, we've literally got nowhere to park. What are we going to do? So we've got to live around it. You don't live around. You don't understand what we get. We get to work where we're going to park our cars in that respect. So I think we're going to have to come up with a plan of action to prevent parking. We can give out tickets, and they're still going to park down there. So that either we widen the road, because some certain parts of Bromford Lane's got metal railings on, and they will literally park across right to the metal railings to the point where people can't get past. Because I was down there the other week in respect to that. So
more of the concern was the grass verges on Bromford Lane, because so they're parking up on Bromford Lane and churning up the grass verges and using them as a business, as car showroom.
Is there any way you can put some bollards down or anything like that? I know it's a big ask.
I don't think our budget would reach that. You need a significant number of bollards to address the issue.
Regarding the untaxed vehicles, we can't touch a vehicle now for two months and 1 day.
Okay.
Right.
So that would explain, because some vehicles have been moved quicker than others, and residents saying, well, why is that one went in a few days and this one's taken a longer time?
They'll put it as traders, but if it's got no tax on, we just take it away straight away.
Okay.
Because we've even put it into the abandoned vehicles team as well. Because if they're just dumped at the side of the road, we also try and move over to the abandoned team as well.
Yeah, some are abandoned, but we've had different ones that are sort of on Bromford and different areas that it's just the odd one here and there, and they seem to be abandoned. But these that are always there, different vehicles, but always in the same place, and they tend to be traders, I think.
All right then. I'll look, like I said, we'll look down Old Bromford Lane, but physicality, could we not just get some metal bars or something and just stick them in the ground?
We'd love to put bollards there, but we've got a very limited budget, and we like to put it on like the work we've done on Stretford Road, where we put pedestrian islands, which are beneficial for residents, for the residents' road safety, because the roads are so busy, and people are struggling to cross the road. Heathland Avenue is another one, especially since we've had the new supermarket. It's attracting a lot of the residents who are elderly and vulnerable that live over Asheville Avenue, Flamborough, and they cross the road, but they struggle to cross the road. So we'd like to see, things to spend our very tiny budget on putting pedestrian islands or something there to help them, rather than having to put it on grass verges where people shouldn't be parking anyway.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, all I can assure you is that, like I said, if we come across any vehicles that we can move, we will move. But I will say we literally have to wait 2 days and 2 months and 1 day. And to be fair, the new PCSO that we've got on the team at the moment, he'll do it as soon as if need be. Can you enforce, because the actual parking on grass verges, can you just ticket them for parking on the grass verges? Have a bit? Yeah. Technically, on this is obstruction, so we can actually give them a ticket. But we normally try, obviously, advise weren't enforced, like the old COVID rulings that we used to before, and that's what we tried to do.
Okay. But yeah, if some action could be taken, because yeah, especially now as it's starting to rain, the grass verges are just becoming slightly. And the mud transfers onto the pavements, and it's also a risk. It poses a risk to residents who are, slipping on the mud and that.
Yeah.
Right, so we welcome some enforcement. Thank you around that. Anybody else would like to comment or ask a question around this issue? Councillor Mahmood, is that your legacy hand or your?
No, I put it up again second time
Okay,
round.
okay.
That's the question. Yes, on Old Bromford Lane, I was delivering letters there just to inform residents of the Marble House recycling visit tomorrow to Ventnor Avenue in the ward. And the stretch of Old Bromford Lane between Lendale Avenue and Ashby Close and towards Bromford Lane, there wasn't a single car parked on the road. But on the other side, Old Bromford Lane, the sergeant mentioned, is quite narrow. There was cars parked on the pavement and on the road. It was very narrow, but some of those residents, they can park on the other section of Old Bromford Lane, which would make it safer for pedestrians. Because I was walking on the pavement and there was literally no space for a wheelchair to be taken on that pavement with the cars parked, which effectively means that those drivers who park the car there, I know there's an evidential issue that you have to physically see that person driving the car onto the pavement, but it's an obstruction of the highway. Easily the police could come and knock a few doors and ask them to move those cars. And there's ample space on Old Bromford Lane towards the top end for them to park. In terms of like safeguarding verges with raised curbs and bollards, we have been doing that. I don't think there's any year has gone past since I've been a councillor for the last 11 years where we haven't spent money on bollards or pedestrian handrails in the ward. And we've got a batch of about 14, 15 bollards coming through now on various parts of the ward in order to do that. But Bromford Lane itself is just far too big for us to be able to get that amount of funding that would be needed to stop that. But I do want to see that happen. The wish list is that section towards the top end where there's lots of cars parking, to put those trip rails so that cars are prevented from parking on there. But we need, at this moment in time, until that happens, we do need the police to step up on behalf of the community to take strong action against those people who are inconsiderately and illegally parking. And it's not your normal average person that is parking their car on grass verges or on the pavement on Bromford Lane. On Old Bromford Lane, it may be the case there's too many cars and not enough parking space. But on Bromford Lane itself, it's car traders. There's at least 2 car traders on the road who are just simply parking all of their goods onto the grass verge, onto the pavement and onto the road itself when it's quite dangerous to park. They've got ample parking spaces on their drives. Most of them got spaces for 3-4 cars. So that's where we really want to see some action taking place against those traders, because to be honest, they shouldn't really be using their residential properties in order to sell cars on the outside. I know you can sell a private car, but when you're trading cars, there's a big difference between selling your private car and when you're trading cars. So I'm with the chair on this. I want to see stern action taking place on Bromford Lane and on Old Bromford Lane. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So
can
effectively,
I
they're
possibly-
using the grass verges as car showrooms at the expense of the aesthetics of the grass verge, and they're killing off our grass verge, and trading, putting other car dealers who are having to pay rates on a showroom. So they're effectively, putting them at an unfair disadvantage.
So in respect to that, we'd have to get in touch with trading standards, because we will struggle to move vehicles off the road unless there's a reason to move it. We can give out as many tickets as possible, but that's not, we're really going to stop the problem, because they'll continue doing it. Because we
Right,
have
I'll
the same
get
issue
trading standards. I'll
Yeah.
bring them in
I had
on
the
this
same
as
issue when I
well.
worked up in another part of Birmingham, and a lot of car traders, they'll say, yeah, we'll take the fine. but the cars are legally parked. And if you move them, unless they're blocking the highway, we massively struggle. You know.
But you can just fine them for just parking on the grass verge, which is illegal.
We can give them a ticket for unnecessary obstruction, but
Yeah.
is that going to cure the problem? And from my experience, I'd say it won't cure the problem. They'll pay the fine and ticket. You know, we'll try and tweet and tell them not to park on the grass verge. And normally, if we got enforcement down from DVLA, if the car's not taxed or MOT, we'd get them removed straight away. But that's the best we can do at the moment.
We'll have to approach it from all angles: trading standards, police, everywhere we can.
Because we're looking at long term, really, aren't we?
Yeah. The tax of vehicles. Okay.
Can I say something, Diane?
Yes, certainly, Ash.
What it is, I actually live on Bromford Lane. A few years ago, we had nice grass verges, we had nice summer grass coming out. Now, if you walk there, it's like a mud bath. And what it is, like the Councillor Majid says, there are few traders. They are park their cars in the drive and on the path and on the grass verge, and they're blocking people's driveway. And it's really gone worse. And like the cars are okay, we understand they need a parking, but you don't need parking to sell your cars there from there, because it's a residential area, and at night time you get people coming knocking your door thinking that you're a trader or something. So it's getting really ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen the cars. Basically, they are using it as a showroom. If they wanted to park, they'd park on because they're all big gardens on that road. So there's no need to park on the grass verges. But the benefit of selling the cars and getting the passing trade, that it seems to be what they're doing it for that reason. So there's no excuse. Nadim's put on about it's a major problem. Parking on grass verges is a major problem across East Birmingham. Significant concerns from residents across the Shardane ward as well. Yeah, Shardane ward, because that's the ward that's got lots and lots of big grass verges, and same happens there.
Because
at this time of the year, it rains heavy and it just turns to a mud bath, and the grass never recovers.
And there's another thing now, there's people living across the road, and if you look by the nursery, even they got recovery trucks and everything parked on the grass verge, but they don't even live on this side, so everybody's just taking advantage because there's no law enforcement or anything. So we basically need help from the police, even if they come round and don't put tickets, just warn them. So we might get improvements, because day by day it's getting worse. I mean, sometimes I can't get in my drive because there's cars parked out there. I have to go knocking doors. So we need to really help. And if the police help us, even if they don't put tickets, they could come round, warn them, or give them a little letter saying, if you park on grass road, we're going to put a ticket. I understand what officer is saying, that they can't do it all the time, and people, they're being lenient because people parking. But if you look at it from St Margaret's Road to Old Bromford Lane, and if they park on one on the path, there's no space for cars to go through, but they just, I don't know what they get parking on the grass verge. I mean,
We can try and work together with the police and come up with maybe a letter that we can send out to all residents and warn them that this isn't going to be accepted anymore, and that enforcement will follow if residents don't change their behaviour. That's a possibility.
Yeah, because we need to do something, because it's getting ridiculous. And like when it rains, you can't, even if you try to walk on the grass, it's like a mud. Someone could fall, get injured or anything. I mean, grass verges are there for look nice, but at the moment it doesn't look nice when people driving past. What do they think of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Ash. Councillor Mahmood? I think it's
Yeah,
something
thanks, Chair. Yeah, I agree with the comments of Ash. It is a problem on Bromford Lane, and I understand where the side's coming from. Oh, let's look for a long-term solution, but you can't look for a long-term solution till we take the bull by its horns now and start ticketing the people for the illegal parking. And it's grossly unfair on the residents who live on the road, who quite, they come in and out of their driveways, park their cars, but then you've got 2 or 3 traders who are just taking up all the road space that's available. If they want to sell cars, they should just buy a pit somewhere or a unit and sell the cars from there. And then especially those that haven't got road tax or MOT, they'll just park them on there. So there does need to be, I mean, all it takes is for the local neighborhood police just to have part of that section of the ward as their walkabout, and then they can carry out some action. And where I do disagree with the sergeant is he said that people will carry on doing it. I don't think they will. Once people have been ticketed once, they're extremely careful because they know, and especially if they know that there's going to be regular walkabouts, then they'll stop. And the same is happening outside the schools, the Hodge campus of schools, and on Colborne. I spoke to the head teacher of Colborne School the other week, and he was complaining again that there's lots of parents now coming and they're parking outside the school next to the traffic lights and the zigzags, and there's no police presence. Many years ago, Sergeant, we did used to have police presence on the Bromford Road, like you're going back about 8-9 years ago, and we never used to have any issues because the people knew the police were there, and they were going to move people. Yes, as a council, we need to do more, but we have been outside the schools campus. You can't say we haven't done as much as we could. We've installed pedestrian handrails, we've installed bollards, and we've raised the curbs as well, just to stop people parking on the grass verges in people's entrances. On Twycross Grove, there's been a number of incidents where residents living there and parents have got into arguments over inconsiderate parking, and it's happening across. And many years, just a few years ago, we never used to have these problems. And I have to be honest, there is a lack of police visibility. Not your fault, Sergeant. I know there's been cuts to the police, there's been cuts everywhere, but we need to prioritize. And I'll give you another example. I had a resident in tears on the phone, and you know who they are because the police have been involved in this particular incident on Beaufort Avenue, where a house was kicked in, the door was kicked in, and people tried to force entry. Had the same situation on Stetchford Road a few weeks before that, and all the residents have told me is that we've contacted the police. The police come 2-3 days later and they speak to us, and well, that gives the impression to people that the police will only come to you if it's like a serious offence. The other week, on Thursday, I think it was, there was a press article, Birmingham Mail, on Stetchford Lane in I think it was 1 a.m. or it was, there's a thief. He effectively took a bonnet off a car and he just walked off. He just literally walked off. Nothing happened. It's like there's so many ring doorbells now. There's so much evidence available to the police to assist the police, but there's no visibility. And then I know you'll probably say, well, we need to encourage a street watch, etc. But people have their own jobs to do, and they haven't got the time to do that. And we've got the police. It's taxpayers' money that goes towards the police. We really need, we keep getting told by the police crime commissioner that there's extra police and, he's recruited extra police. But how many of those police have come into Bromford and Hodge Hill? That's what we want to know, because no one's actually giving those figures. All I ever get from residents is, oh, this has happened and the police haven't come. And I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but I'm just relaying the thoughts of the residents. A lot of them don't feel safe anymore. If you live on a road and one of your neighbor's doors has been kicked and someone's tried to force their entry into that property, how are you going to feel safe? Where is the reassurance from the police? The police come 2-3 days later. And I understand why you come 2-3 days later, because there's other urgent business happening and the incident's already taken place, and you only come if there's an imminent threat to persons and property. But that's dissipated. We had the same thing on Bromford Road 2 years ago when there was forced entry into one of the properties there. People feel unsafe about that. And, I don't think the culprits were caught. Same thing happened on Eastbourne Avenue, where there was, again, another forced entry. And people are really, really worried about these forced entries taking place. But we're not really getting anything. The minimum we should get is letters from the police or leaflets. no, you've said you've tweeted, which I acknowledge, but I'm on Twitter. I use Twitter on a daily basis. But there's 22,000 people who live in Bromford and Hodge, and I can tell you this: not 22,000 people are on Twitter in Bromford and Hodge. They need to feel safe, especially the elderly and vulnerable. So more does need to be shown from the police, and I'm happy to come out with the police to show that presence. We asked for in our last ward forum meeting, like other areas in the city, there's pop-up police stations, but no one's ever come back to us. We want to have pop-up police stations where you just have the police. For example, we say to you, Sergeant, we'll all meet in 2 weeks' time outside the Hodge schools at the time when the schools are closing. Then all of us can see what's actually happening. We can speak to the parents, we can speak to the residents, we can speak to the school. Do the same at Colborne. Let's do the same on Bromford Lane where there's issues. Let's do the same on Beaufort Avenue, Stetchford Road, where there's been previous incidents. People need reassurance out there, and it's getting to the stage where people are losing all trust and faith in the system. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Majid.
Right, in respect to the last comment, I don't understand why people are saying they're losing trust and confidence in the police. The cause you're referring to in relation to the people having the doors kicked in, we will respond to that straight away. You got to understand that we're only part of a small neighbourhood team, so I can't speak for other teams all around, but I can assure you that if somebody's getting the door kicked in, it will be an immediate police officer will turn out. We do patrol as much as possible. Remember, we covered the whole of the ward end, all the way up as far as Common Lane, down to the back of Bucklands End. So we cover quite a large area. I can only do what I can with what the resources I have. So people shouldn't feel that they're not being looked after, not being cared about, or not being forced about when they're telling us what's happening. Because I have an email full of requests for us to action stuff that they're telling us, and we do try and do our best regarding that. I will say I can't fix everybody's problems. I will try and do my best. I understand the Crime Commission has said we're going to get 22,000 police officers. That's across the whole force. But I can't speak about that because that is something that another department deal with, another branch will be dealing with. But I can assure you that we are looking into everything that people tell us. We are trying to resolve the issues that you have outlined to us, to the point where we work after hours, past our duty time, to make sure community of Hodge and Warden are safe.
Thank you, Sergeant Keynes. Would it be possible to find out the allocation, the numbers of extra police officers that have been allocated to Hodge Hill Police?
I won't find that out because I literally, you'd only have in total one officer, one sergeant, and 7 PCs for each ward. You don't normally have more than that. That's standard for most wards, and potentially 1 PCSO.
So we've got 1 sergeant, 7 PCs.
That's the normal posting. We don't always have that all the time because we have rotation where people move. But like I said, if people do need the police, and they phone 999, they will get a response.
Majid, was there something you wanted to add?
So thanks for that, Sergeant. But to be honest, you haven't reassured me at all. Now, I've told you that I've been approached by residents who said there was a lack of police action. I did actually invite them to this meeting today to come here and basically relay the concerns that they have. They've told me, and I can speak, obviously this meeting has been recorded, so I don't want to give anyone's addresses away, but we can have a frank conversation about this afterwards and potentially even go and see the family. They told me that the house was being kicked in and they called the police, and whilst they were waiting for the police, the people had gone. But at that particular evening, the police never came to see them. They came to see them 2 days afterwards to take the details, and they've not heard anything back since. Now, that's not reassuring the public. I get your point. I understand. Look, I'm a lawyer myself. I've actually represented people in the criminal courts. If there's imminent danger to persons or property, the police will come. I get that. I understand that. But if the incident is happening while it's being reported, the police won't come because it's been dealt with. But they don't come the next day. It used to be the case the police will still turn up. Like if you've had a burglary now, even I've had this as well come to me from residents, and and I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say this. We've not had in ward forums, we've not had a presence from the police in the last municipal. I don't recall one meeting where the police have actually attended the ward forums. And I understand what you've said, your local neighbourhood team. I get
Can I
that.
just come in
That's why
on
we're
that one?
rearranging.
Can I just come in on that one? We did have one PCSO who came in, and he, big part of our ward action plan, he agreed that we would have these pop-up surgeries, and that's going back a while now, maybe 6 months or so. But
That was a PC.
and after that,
Yeah.
I tried to follow it up, and nothing happened.
But that wasn't, I don't think, if memory serves me correct, that was in the municipal year, which is May to May from last year. I think it was just before we got into that municipal year, but nothing materialised with the pop-up
No.
clinics. We even had the West Midlands Police Crime Commissioner in our meeting, and again, nothing materialised from that. We've not had the presence from the police. Now, other wards, I've seen it in Erdington, at least 2 wards where they get regular pop-up police stations, pop-up clinics they call them, where the police for an hour come to a different part of the ward and just speak to residents. Now, that's not much to ask for. You've said you've got a local neighbourhood policing team. You know, what's the we did have one before COVID, Diane, if you remember, on Bromford Drive.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much turnout on the day, but we managed to speak to lots of residents, and the feedback afterwards was really, really good. It reassured people that the police are actually there. When I was growing up in Allen Rock, there used to be police everywhere. I was just going to school and back, used to see police. But I know the numbers have been slashed through no fault of yours, Sergeant. I'm not, putting the blame on police officers. I'm just saying that we do need to have, like you've said, we need to step up as council and we need to stick in bollards. That's fine. We've been doing that for the last 11 years, but I can't, that needs to be reciprocated in terms of having a pop-up clinic, and I will make sure people attend that pop-up clinic. We will even, and I'm sure Dan will do this with me, we will even leaflet households near to where that pop-up clinic is to encourage
100%.
people to attend. And
The
that way
last
we'll
pop-
start winning back the
the
assurance,
last pop-up
the
surgery
trust.
we had was at Tesco's car park, which is a month ago, right? Because everybody gets to Tesco, and we literally just parked the van up, stood outside Tesco's, and spoke to people within the foyer. And their main concern was the begging at the Fox and Goose.
That's something I was going to come on to, but
Right.
yet we weren't made aware of this pop-up clinic,
Yeah.
and we would have liked to attend it, but we would like to see them, because you see the same people at Tesco's, but you see different people outside the schools, perhaps, that a lot don't always go to Tesco's, they go to other supermarkets. And also I wanted to come on to Street Watch as well. I haven't been able to do Street Watch for a few months because of illness and different things, but I would like to go to it. But I know that a lot of the numbers have dropped off because they're feeling, people wanted to do Street Watch because they thought, we're going out there and patrolling and we're helping the police, but then they're not getting the same, it's not being reciprocated, we're trying to help the police do their job, but we're not seeing the levels of enforcement that we'd like to see. So a lot of people are getting disillusioned with Street Watch, and that's a shame.
Can I say something again?
Yes, Ash, sorry, so you got your hand up.
What it is with the lack of police in the area, I don't know if people are complaining to you, because I live locally, I lived there 23 years. There's a lot of people going at night time, checking everyone's cars are open and everything. Once or twice, I tried to phone the police, and police never bother coming up. And also on Southern Road and corner of Bromford Lane, at night time, there's a kid sitting there smoking drugs or selling them, and you never see a police. And on Bromford Lane, the cars are going on 70, 80 miles an hour. They switched the cameras off, so it's getting lawless, to be honest with you, if you live on the main road. And I live there, and as I always says to Councillor Majid, we need police on the patrol, also police cars just parked so they know there's a police around here. But around Hodge, I don't think we get a police to come out or do anything. So if even police come around, drive around these back streets and everything, we might cut the crime. But at the moment, they know the police, because don't care or anything, or they can't come out, they're busy or anything. But realistically, we need police to come in our area and do a bit of a walk or drive around or whatever. If the criminals could see police driving around and they know the police are around, then we might cut the crime down.
Ash, I can
Absolutely.
assure you, yeah, that my team is constantly out on the beat all the while, in a vehicle, on foot, in a public order van. Right?
But Alan, I haven't seen them on main Bromford Lane lately. And if you tell one of your officers just to park between St Margaret's Road and by the Tesco, and in the evening you'll see the cars going past there hours easily 60, 70 miles an hour, and there's no cameras, nothing. So it's basically become a one racing track, especially weekends. Saturdays. I mean, 1 o'clock you could hear them blaring music, the noise from the exhaust, and racing up and down. And it's getting. I mean, I lived there in 23 years, and I'm thinking of moving now because of all this. I don't need
Is
this.
that late at night, Ash? Is that?
Yeah. So, what I'm saying, I know there's your cutbacks and everything, but even if you bit of presence by police will put these people off, and they're all young kids, and until one of them kills themselves or kills a pedestrian or anyone, then we're getting lately, if you look at it, how many accidents we had in Fox and Goose lights and St Margaret's Road lights. What do you think they're happening? Because they're racing, they're going through red lights, they know that there's no one to stop them.
If you saw the footage of the accident that happened on Bromford Lane, it narrowly missed a young kid riding on a scooter.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're racing and they're coming down the road.
It's not just the people on the road at risk, it's the pedestrians as well that are at risk.
I know police can't be everywhere, but even in Hodge, if we get them, even for half an hour, 1 hour daily, we might hopefully could resolve this. And if the police needs help of residents, we're all here to help them.
Ash, again, I can assure you, yeah, we're on duty 8, 9 hours during the day, and we will take positive action against people on the beat. I do get my officers walking around the Fox and Goose all the way down to Wash Relief, down to Common Lane, where we cover as part of our patrol strategy, yeah. So when people are telling us stuff's happening, people have got unparked cars, parking schools. In the morning, I'll try and get my team out regarding schools. We work 3 earlies, so during the afternoon, we're not covering it. Then on 3 lates, we'll cover when we've got all the issues. So I don't want you to feel, go away from this meeting, that we're not doing nothing.
No, but Alan, what I'm saying, I understand you on. I see police on Watch Relief, I see police on Fox and Goose, but what I'm saying is, these side streets, you need to tell them to walk around there if they got time, because most of the crime is happening on the side roads.
Yeah, that's something I was going to come on to, Ash, about the side roads. There's a lot, especially on the avenues, all around Hodge Hill.
I mean, even if you
on the corners, there's the young lads park up, and it's creating a litter problem as well. So they'll be eating takeaways, smoking, drinking, whatever they do, and then everything just get dumped.
Don, even I'll give you a prime example. By the nursery, Old Bromford Lane, if you walk past there 9, 10 o'clock, there's always some people sitting. And next day when you go for a walk, there's little gas bottles, alcohol bottles. So
I know, myself and Councillor Mahmood, we've done the litter picks around there on numerous occasions, and we literally collected hundreds, if not thousands, of those silver canisters. I don't think it's as big a problem as it was at one point, but now it's always discarded cans of empty cans, lager cans, bottles, whatever.
We're bringing these people into our area. They're thinking they're safe. Like, for example, Southern Road and Bromford Lane corner, it's like at night time, you got always 3, 4 cars sitting late till 3, 4. You don't know. Then are they going to break in someone's house, or they're just sitting there or doing what? But we can't go there as a resident. It's really police job to do that and ask
Yeah,
them.
I agree. The other thing is the begging outside of Tesco's, and especially now that Ramadan is approaching fast. Residents, and they're known for their generosity in the Hodge area, and we'll see an influx of beggars who were there to capitalise on it. Unfortunately, all they're doing is funding their drug habit, and
But
that's-
those beggars at the night time, they go around in your drives and start searching the cars.
yeah, exactly. It's
So-
just bringing.
Can I ask Sergeant, what law is it to remove the beggars, or you
Right.
can't?
Regarding the laws regarding begging, yeah. If they're on Tesco sites, we can ask them to move, but technically Tesco's is private sites, and we do ask them to move on. A lot of them live locally. If we find they're committing any offences, we will lock them up, and we'll try and get them as much help as possible. Because ultimately, I don't know what their previous position is, and just locking them up and technically not dealing with the underlying issue doesn't help, because it just brings the begging issue back at the same time. Right, we have the street pastors come down as well to speak to them as well, and we will just try and move them on initially, but at the same time we do try and get them help to get them sorted.
They do come back. They do come back because they'll move on. They'll move on from Tesco's, and they'll probably go up to Castle Bromwich, but within half an hour or so they'll come back because Tesco's is more lucrative for them. So it's sort of working with the community to highlight that they're really not helping these people by.
But we'll also get challenged by saying that we're persecuting people who are begging, who are struggling.
But lately now, I don't know if you notice, they start coming, standing on traffic lights, going to the cars and asking everyone.
We move on.
But I see police cars just drive past them.
Yeah, but that's not. I get it's different police cars if it's not our team. I can't account for every police car that drives past them when they're at the traffic lights.
I understand that, but because now it's getting so ridiculous. They come, I think the Asians now, they come in, stand in the middle of the road, knocking your windows, and if you're on traffic light, walking past you, and then the cars are coming, and they could, someone's coming fast, they'll end up bad accident there.
Yeah. We encourage people not to give them money. Yeah.
Yeah, but we tell loads of people, we tell in our community, don't give them, but people don't listen.
And then we will get castigated for saying it's their right to do what they want to do with their money, and that we're victimising the people who are part of the street community.
Because before we used to see in Smallheath and Bosley Green, they used to walk on the middle of the road begging. Now they started doing Fox and Goose and all that places. So if we could put a patrol there, and if they see them, they need to be moved.
Yeah, which is what we as a team will do.
Yeah, if we only could try, Alan. If you are,
Ash, and to be fair, we don't just move them on. We don't just move them on. We actually speak to them, find them information, and try and direct them in the right direction. And if they are committing an offence, we've got grounds to do to take police action. We will do, because ultimately, if they're begging, they're not helping themselves. And us people giving them money and not helping them to improve their lifestyle.
Can I ask you, Alan?
Yeah.
If you move them once and they keep coming back, can you arrest them, or you just leave them?
We can potentially serve them with a community notice, a CPN.
Okay.
To warn them not to come back begging. If they then continue with that, we can seek to look at prosecuting them for the court civilly.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Thank you.
Thanks, Ash. Alan, several of those individuals that beg outside Tesco, I know them, and I know that they live in the vicinity. They live in supported accommodation, so they're funded. They've got benefits. They've got a roof over their head.
got no
Yeah,
reason to.
yeah, they've got everything that the basics. They're just using it to fund their addictions, and that's obvious because literally they've got the dealers on speed dial. As soon as they've got enough money, then you see the dealers arrive and they're doing the dealing around, usually in Brockhurst, around the corner. So if we could have more enforcement, especially now around Ramadan, and we're going to see an increase in these people coming in. Ash, is that your hand that's still up, or did you want to ask something else?
No, a quick question to Sergeant Allen again. Sorry, Alan, it's only me.
No worries, John.
Another problem is kidding. I don't know. You should know more of the figures. That these people that renting house properties and started growing drugs and all that.
Yeah.
Do you actually catch any of them? Because they keep going around. In profession, I'm a estate agent, and you get these funny people coming, but I don't let properties to them. But there's estate agents that give it to them, and nobody know they know what they're doing. What actions do you take against that?
We normally, if we find a cannabis factory, is what you think you're describing. If it's happening there and then, we'll try and conduct enforcement. As you know yourself, if there's a cannabis factory, we normally have to get warrants and try and put the door through to clear out the cannabis factory. So that's what we've always done. That's what we're trying to do. We are getting a bit of pushback sometimes regarding information that we need to get a warrant, and sometimes we have to wait for it before we can get through. But that's a process. You know, people are under the illusion that we can just go in straight away. Sometimes we'll have even a smell of cannabis. We can't even use it as evidence to try and get a warrant. We need a bit more.
Okay, thanks for that. Don, I don't know. I haven't used this thing before, but I think my hands are just staying up.
Okay, all right. If you want to say anything further, just say.
All right, thank you. Okay,
right,
you carry on now, Don. Thanks for that, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Kanger. Does anybody else, would they like to add anything to that or ask any further questions?
Yeah, Councillor Majid made a comment regarding us getting back to the community regarding telling people what we're doing, and not everybody's on Twitter, which I truly do understand. Yeah, we will struggle with, because they want us to do paperless now, and it's a cost implication. We're looking at different ways to advertise what we're doing. Okay. And obviously, Twitter's the way forward at the moment. And again, my mum and dad, they're not on Twitter. They won't know what's going on, listen to them. And I appreciate not everybody will be able to understand and communicate on Twitter. Is there any other outlet we could look at potentially advertising our wares?
Well, we regularly leaflet all across the ward. If you want us, we can sort of liaise and do something together to get the message across. And you know, especially on Bromford Lane, that's something, a starting point. We can, Maggie's just put in the chat that pop-up clinics are essential. We weren't aware of the one at Tesco's, but if we could do something to collaborate together, I think it'd be good for yourselves. It'd be good for us as well, because we can pick up issues that are happening, because you know, you're aware of things that we're not, and vice versa. So I think working together is a good way forward. So if we can, you know, do pop-up clinics, Tesco's is a great location, but widen it out to outside the schools, and I think you will pick up a lot of information from outside the schools.
Right. Another issue with the schools as well, right? I've been in this job 20 odd years, and like the councillor says, 20 odd years, you had so many bobbies. Now we are, you know, literally it's cost cutting and so on and so forth. Regarding trying to manage the schools, and we've tried to educate people, tried to say walk to school, walk to parents, and so on and so forth. And I get everybody's got a busy life. I'm lost to try and educate people to not park outside schools, water schools, because like the councillor says, it causes more problems than necessary.
But it's a way of talking to people and educating. If we can have a pop-up clinic outside the schools, then we can sort of encourage that as well. But we can pick up information on other issues that are happening within the ward as well. People are more willing to come and speak to us if it's a more relaxed atmosphere,
Yeah.
and they don't like picking up the telephone and having to give all their details over the phone. That's something that a lot of people don't like, but just having that face-to-face interaction, and it makes them feel more relaxed. And if there's police and counsellors, that because we are well known that they'll probably be more willing to communicate the issues that are happening. So if that's something we can sort of commit to, working to collaborating together in the future, I think that would be very beneficial.
Oh, yeah. I'll try and get my police system, because we try and, as normal and as part of our patrol strategy, actually get people outside the schools, because like I said, people will speak to us, and it is stopping the parking issue, and we do try and address it regarding what's going on. And like it says, people will speak to us 9 times out of 10, not all the time. All right, to be quite honest, not all the time. So yeah, I'll try and to pop with the pop-up strategy. What we normally used to do is just get a public order van, park it just for argument's sake on Wash Relief Road, Tesco's, the Fox and Goose. Try and advertise it to get people to come and speak to us, because we normally do it about between 10 and 12, because everybody gets to work in the morning, and people then haven't got the time to actually speak to us in that respect.
But if we can, be brought in on all the activities, and if we arrange some pop-up clinics as well, that we could have a PCSO attend, that would be really helpful.
Can I suggest something?
Yes.
Neil?
What it is, because we need police and councils working together, and if you set up some sort of meeting, or at first time you might not get many people, but if you get them, people will be comfortable to talk to the police, because sometimes when the police are walking on the road, there's a problem. People don't talk to them because they think they're probably informing something or telling them, and they might fear of their own safety. So I suggest that we should have a regular meeting with the police and councillors, sit down, and we could discuss, and we could build this up, and we could start the area walking and all the patrols with police help.
That's a good idea, but I think that the meetings are very poorly attended, but pop-up clinics, you'll capture a lot more people, especially in areas of high footfall, i.e. supermarkets, schools. And it's just a relaxed atmosphere. As you say, when you're doing a street watch, some people will be reluctant to engage street patrols because the neighbours might be looking and they're a bit wary. Whereas, outside a school or outside a supermarket, it's more casual, and if there's several people there, they'll sort of gravitate to whoever they feel comfortable with. Yeah, I think maybe that's a way forward.
Because at the moment, I think people, because when there's a crime happening or something happened to them, you ask them, have you reported to the police? They go, no, they don't bother. So we need to break that tradition, and we know police is with us. So we need to find a way that everyone can put a trust back into the police.
I agree. I know it's difficult because of the police numbers, but I think it's sort of this community engagement and working and having pop-up clinics, etc. That's a way forward, and something that we should try. Is that something you could commit to, Sergeant Keynes?
I won't commit myself. I'll commit somebody to it. All right.
Yeah.
In that respect, because I think as long as somebody's got somebody to speak to, I think that's better than not having nothing at all. Like I said, summer's coming up. I reckon it's going to be quite a busy summer as well. I've just got this feeling we're going to be really busy. And I think there's going to be more demand on us because of what's going on throughout the country, economically and financially for everybody. So
and there's some big bank holidays coming up as well. People are going to be strapped. Everyone wants to celebrate, but people just haven't got the resources to do it. And I can see a spike in crime.
And that does play out. And obviously, we are going to potentially see a rise in crime because of what's going on financially for everybody. But we will try and as much as possible.
Okay. Okay. Anybody like to add anything further? No. Councillor Mahmood has just put in pop-up clinics are essential. Twitter is good, but reach not 100%. Which, yeah, if you're an elderly person, and a lot of younger people too, they don't use Twitter, so it's not reaching everybody. So more community engagement through pop-up clinics is a way forward. Speed watch, if we can commit to having some speed watch events, that would be good. And enforcement on the grass verges on Bromford Lane. I'll liaise with trading standards about the alleged car dealers and see if we can get something done about that. Street watch, we just need to encourage these guys, and if they see that the police is doing something, they'll be more willing to give their time if they feel it's worthwhile, that the issues are being addressed. And letters to residents, if we can put something together, we're more than happy to deliver it. So if you could give me a point of contact for a PCO or something, I'd be happy to liaise with them and we can get the ball rolling on these issues.
Yeah. Just, obviously put me and Adam down to PCO. We've had, obviously, we've got Sarah.
Is it another new PCO? Is that
Rob?
Rob, yeah.
Yeah.
Is he with us, or is he just
He's
passing through?
literally just started, quite literally just started. Proper
Oh,
just started. He's only
he's staying in the
for the time being,
yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Because as soon as you get to know them, then that's another issue, that people get to know somebody, feel comfortable with them, and then they moved on. Yeah. Okay. Right. Are there any? Thank you, Sergeant Keynes, and thank you for taking your time and coming along today. We do really appreciate it. Yeah.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah,
But all I can
residents feel listened to, and we feel that we can work together. I think that will make a big difference.
Yeah, I don't get the Twitter thing. Not 100% of people are going to be on it.
No. Okay. Any further questions before Sergeant Keynes leaves? Are you free to go then, Sergeant Keynes? And thank you once again for attending. Oh, Councillor Mahmood's got his hand up. Just one moment.
No, I was going to thank Sergeant Allen for coming, and then just that looking forward to a fruitful relationship and having lots of pop-up clinics across the ward and getting a lot of these cars taken off our streets. If we can prove it's not got a road tax for, it's been at least 2 months and 1 day. I'll send you a list.
It is a big issue, because I will say, like, obviously, if you didn't have your car tax for like a week, your car was gone. But I think since COVID, they've said, it's going to be 2 months and a day, which that's irrational, and I'm not going to question it because I'm not in the seat of power. But like I said, any car that we find that's got no tax on or insurance, I can assure it's gone.
Okay. Is that likely to decrease in the future from two months?
I can't say. Can't really.
No, okay. All right. Thank you, Sergeant Keynes. Look forward to liaising with you shortly.
Thank you really for turning up.
Yeah. Have a good evening. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, are there any other points that residents would like to raise before we close the meeting? Hello, Nadine.
Hello, Chair. Hello, Councillor Mahmood,
How are you?
invited guests. Yeah, really good discussion. Councillor Donaldson, if you remember, you were at our last steering group, the Neighbourhood Action steering group. Amongst other things, we talked a little bit about the ward action plan.
Yeah.
Now, a few people have come to me and said, well, has that been officially uploaded? Can we access the ward plan, etc., etc.? I do and can have access to it through the Birmingham City Council website. So it's been sent to me. One
Okay.
of the things that we spoke about the last steering group, Councillor, you were there, is that we were looking to maybe take individual segments of the ward plan and work with the community group stakeholders to kind of add some deliverables that we can push forward. Now, for example, ward priority, green spaces, development of friends groups, for example. Now, at Friday's East Birmingham partnership meeting, which I attended, we had members of the Environment Agency who talked, I think since the last ward forum meeting, actually, I think you were there with the tree planting from the Environment Agency, which was a really good exercise. I thought it was brilliant. And obviously, Ron Williams spoke briefly about the development of in and around the area around where the shops are on Bromford Drive, the green spaces, parks, etc., Berendale Road.
Yeah.
As a future plan, and to get that plugged in, do you, as ward council, would you have any objection for me as the neighbourhood action coordinator to kind of work within the parameters of the existing ward plan to plug in some actions that I could send over to you to have a look at for next Tuesday?
You can, send actions over to me. I'm happy to implement them into the ward plan.
In particular, I'm very keen to set up some more friends groups. I think, Councillor Mahmood, that might be useful for you.
That's something both myself and Councillor Mahmood are very keen to do, to set up friends of parks groups.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great news. And other than that, as I said, we've got the steering group next Tuesday at Ambridge House. I attended the steering group in Shardend earlier this morning. Everything's obviously working well in regards to the Neighbourhood Action Coordinator grant process. Both of you will be receiving very shortly a councillor feedback form relating to the sole application I've received so far for to access some of the NAC grant funds. So I'll send over to you the recommendations for that.
As regarding that, I've had an inquiry from a group of residents that would like to, they're sort of over 60s group, and they would like to organise fishing trips.
Okay. I'm happy to send,
for their mental health, for their health and well-being, trips out into the countryside, fresh air, and they feel that be beneficial for their mental health as well. Is that something we can facilitate?
I'm happy to send out either directly to them, or I could send the forms and the links to you and you could forward it on. I'm happy to do either or.
Please, if you send it to me, then I'll forward it.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to receive any applications, because that's really what we're trying to do, is to harvest projects from local people, residents. It's a small grant, so we're trying to get as many small grants out to those pockets that link directly either into my themes as a neighbourhood action coordinator or your ward priorities through your ward action plan. So it bodes well at the moment in Shardend, and I'm hoping it will start lifting off in the Bromford ward as well. But we have received a single application so far, and I'll be getting that over to you in the next 48 hours.
Okay. I may be attending next Tuesday. At the moment, I don't have a licensing and public protection committee in my diary, but that could change at any point. So you may see me, you may not. Okay.
No, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadeem. I appreciate your time too. Thank you. We okay with that. Is there any other comments, questions, issues that anyone would like to raise before we close the meeting? No? Okay. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, local residents. I know it hasn't been a very well attended meeting, but our next meetings, which are up on the notice board in Tesco's, they're all advertised on there for the entirety of 2003. So you can see that we've tried to choose venues across the board and have different formats. So some will be on Teams, and so we try to do a morning, afternoon, evening meetings in various formats. So if you ever need to check when the next meeting is and you're in Tesco's, just have a quick look on the notice board, and also our advice surgeries are advertised on there as well. And just a reminder that tomorrow is the mobile household recycling centre will be there in Ventnor Avenue in Hodge Hill. So please mention it to all your friends, relatives in the area if they've got any items that they need to have a spring clean and get rid of. They can take it down there, and the guys are very helpful. They help people with taking the items out of the car and putting them into the lorry, and they will be there from 7 a.m. till midday. All right, once again, thank you everybody for attending, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.